Velkommen til Karriereklubben, en podcast, der hjælper dig med dine personlige udfordringer i karrieren. Mit navn er Rossmeisl, og jeg er dagens vært. Welcome everyone, and welcome to this live Karriereklubben. We are here at TechBBQ, and I'm joined by this amazing panel here at DE's booth. I am Caroline Rossmeisl, and I am co-founder and podcast of Karriereklubben. And I must say, this setup is new to me, so please bear with me. The Karriereklubben is a podcast that's available on Spotify and Podimo, where you can always send in your dilemmas about career life as a young professional. Today's theme is something that I believe many founders find familiar. How to scale slowly but steadily. And that's what we're going to talk about today with this amazing panel. Welcome to the three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to solve 3 dilemmas within this theme, but before doing that, I think we should start with you presenting yourself to our listeners. So maybe, Varan, you can start.
Yeah. So my name is Varan, and I've been around in this, tech community the last 15 years, started in investment banking for over a decade, worked for the big corporates, and then 6 years ago I started it wasn't the first, maybe the third startup in sustainable investing, and we were, gone from a startup to a scale-up growth period. And then we actually opted out before it all, crashed in the market in terms of the war and all those things.
Yeah.
So I remember the times where we were discussing, going from startup mode to scale up and then the hyper growth and what happened there. And from there on, I've been working in the deep tech space and helping a lot of scale ups. So speaking about the dilemmas today, you
recognize it.
Yeah, and I help a lot of founders today in these issues. So I'm looking forward to, share whatever I experience out there.
Amazing competences to have in this panel for this theme. Going on to you, Henriette. Welcome to Karriereklubben and the panel.
Thank you. I'm Henriette. I have a background as an entrepreneur, more in the life science space. I've been in that space, but actually also the startup community for over 15 years, both here in Denmark and in Silicon Valley. Back in 2014, actually, I co-founded a company called 3D Integrator. I was CEO for, and we did imaging and computer vision software to do computer-assisted and computer-driven robotic surgery. Yeah. So a bit niche.
Yeah, a bit niche, but also, very interesting.
Very interesting and fun to have done something vision AI before that was really a thing. The company got acquired in 2019 by a big American company, and I then worked for that company in the US for a few years. And today I've done the classic entrepreneur turned investor. I'm here as a representative of Angella Invest. It's a female business. It's actually not a female business angel network, but we are primarily females.
Yeah.
A fantastic network, and I'm here as their representative today, and also talking a bit from my experience as an advisor, board member, and investor in companies, also primarily on the deep tech space.
Amazing to have you here, Henriette.
Yeah, thank you.
And going on to you, Sebastian. Welcome to Karriereklubben and the panel.
Thank you so much. I'm Sebastian. I'm currently CEO of Slow.
Yeah.
My journey with Slow actually started as the first group of investors, and I later took on the CEO position as we transformed in from the startup into the scale up. So that was the main reason for joining this position. So obviously the dilemmas today are something that we've worked on, and I'm happy to share some perspective on this.
And Slow, can you please just explain to our listeners what this Slow does?
Yeah, so Slow is a regenerative agriculture company. So we produce coffee, we produce chocolate. We are 220 employees today. 90% of us being on the ground in Southeast Asia. So we're actually growing stuff. We're transforming monoculture farms into agroforestry system. Why is that important? So these products are driving deforestation. It's a huge problem for climate. It's a huge problem for nature. We're transforming these farms back into agroforestry systems. So prosperous forest where we produce carbon-friendly products. So we're the first company in the world with an SBTi-approved net negative baseline.
Amazing.
We know that we capture 6 kilos of carbon for every kilo of coffee sold, contrary to the traditional industry where the emission would be 5 to 10 kilos. And the same goes for biodiversity and livelihood improvement. So it's an upstream exercise selling to European companies.
And very on point, having slow coffee with this theme about scaling, but slow but steady. It's like very on point. So thank you thank you for joining in the panel. I think we should just dive into it and go to the very first dilemma. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Here it goes. Hi, Karriereklubben. I'm 29 years old and the co-founder of a SaaS platform that helps small and medium-sized businesses to automate their customer service. We gained great traction and our monthly recurring revenue is steadily increasing. We just raised our first significant round of 5 million DKK, which should mean that we are now ready to scale. My dilemma is, however, that I feel that there is still so much foundational work left to do before we can take this big step. Our internal processes are still manual, our customer support is overwhelmed, and we lack senior profiles to help with our growth strategy. I know we have the opportunity to grow fast now, but I'm afraid we will fail if we scale without the right fundamental things in place. Is it normal to feel so unsure about whether we're ready, even after raising funds? And how do I know if we should slow down and focus on internal processes or just dive in and solve problems along the way? From Cecilie. Okay. Oh, I must say, I think that's something a lot of founders can recognize. I mean, you get this amount of funding and you feel on top of the world, but are you ready to grow in like that pace? Maybe you look so. You're really thinking about this dilemma right now, Varan.
I think there's two things in terms of what she mentioned. One thing is to focus on the internal processes and get the internal stuff done before she feels that she needs to, grow. But on the other side, you also know that you got some funding from somewhere. Some investors have some goals, and in terms of this funding round, I don't know whether it's like 6 months or 9 months or 2 years type of funding goal. Be sure with the investors what is the actual goal of after, for this burn rate of these 5 million DKK. Because if you already have discussed that internal processes and stuff like this need to be in place before that, so align the goals with the investors is one of the most important things.
Yeah,
and also in terms of sometimes you really just want to do everything, but in terms of the goals with the investors, I also think that the values in the team. I don't know how many people is in the team because it requires maybe. A lot of hours put into place to meet those goals according to the burn rate.
Yeah.
So if you're not aligned on these values internally as well, saying, okay, this is the goals of the investment round, this is what we're going to do, who is going to do these things, and being good at delegating the stuff is some of the things. So it's like going two ways, alignments with the investors on the, funding goals, and then figure out whether the internal processes and all the things which is on the backlog of this is also what we need to do is a part of those goals. If they're not, then you really need to make sure of that. Otherwise, you might get up into that investors will believe that, we need to get to this monthly recurring revenue and all these things, you shouldn't focus on this. This will be handled afterwards. Then you know what to do.
But there's also something about, when you're scaling, I mean, there's also this fake it till you make it approach. And I mean, I think for Cecilie, it also sounds like she's not sure if, they have the internal processes in order to scale the amount that the investors thinks now, right? So I mean, how to approach that, Henriette? What would you say is a good advice for Cecilie on this one?
So I guess I can speak a little bit from my experiences on both sides. So I would say coming in as an investor, if you invested in something, I would hope that you had kind of, as Varan said, had some conversations before. What are you actually using this 5 million for? And if you agreed with your investors, you're using that to reach some goal in terms of expanding. Then, of course, you have to go back and talk to your investors if you feel like you have to direct your course and spend it in a different way. So I think that's the first point, some alignment and trust between your investor. And you can always change your course, but just make sure that, I mean, you're transparent and everyone you have good arguments for what you do. If you have good arguments and people see the value in your arguments, I mean, it's kind of rare that you will have someone suggest you do the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So that would just be my point from an investor side. So from an entrepreneur, I would just say my experience was I really spent maybe 80% of my time with some sort of people management, hiring, whatever, someone being overwhelmed, for example, all these kind of things, both on of course, you have a lot of stakeholders, you have your investors, your board, and then you have these employees. And if you're already at a state where you feel like your employees feel overwhelmed, then I would say before you sort of put more things in motion, I would just take time to get a little bit, get everyone aligned, everyone feel comfortable with the role and where you're going. Because if you start scaling and you feel like all these people are also a little bit confused in how they're doing, that's just going to get worse and it's going to consume all of your time and your mental load, really.
That's true.
And then you won't have the time and capacity to really look at the bigger picture and the strategic picture.
Yeah, and maybe build the internal processes as well.
Yeah. So I think I would just do like the very old school thing. Make a plan. Look at how many resources do you have. What's realistic to do with the resources. I mean, put in a timeline. What can you achieve? And then see, can you do both? But I would actually always say, first things first. Let's get things in order. When we feel like we have things in order, we move to the next stage.
Is it something that you can also recognize? I mean, this feeling of not being fully prepared for the next step, as Cecilie explains here.
Yeah, I think that's part of entrepreneurship. Like it's up and down, and one day everything is just you feel like you're on top of the world. Everything is going as planned, and then the next day everything's falling apart. And personally, I had some weeks where I felt like now I want to do something different. I'm gonna do flower decorations. Right? That's kind of
just do something completely different.
I just have to stand there and do some flowers and think about it. So, and you can switch back and forth between that almost like a weekly basis. Right? That's part of the journey. So I don't think she should be concerned about her being a little bit like, am I doing the right thing? I mean, we all feel like that.
Yeah. How about you, Sebastian? I mean, do you recognize the feelings that Cecilie describes here about not being fully prepared internally to go to like that next step on the journey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's just part of building a business. It's part of the transition that she's entering. I completely agree with Henriette and Varan. Keep your eyes on the ball. What will raise the next round? So align expectations with your investors. That's essential because that's going to get you to the next level. When that is set, then it's really about prioritizing. So it's and that's an exercise even more important for scale ups because it's a different. Your company will be different in 12 months. And you need to take that stepwise. You cannot do it all at once. That will defocus, and then you'll miss your revenue target or your growth target and so forth. So focus on, how do we ensure that we can do the next round? How do we prepare? What's the worst? What do we need to fix first?
Yeah.
And then focus on that, and do not be overly ambitious on number of projects. rather do one thing at a time and do it right. And right might not be 100%. That might be 80%. And then accept that perfect is not the objective here. The objective would be to, we're transforming a company, and therefore it's a gradual thing. So there's something about diminishing return here. And I think that's an important point in the phase that they're entering.
And what did you do in this situation? I mean, when scaling slow?
Yeah, I mean, it was COVID and we couldn't travel.
Oh my God, it was during COVID as well.
It's super difficult. I couldn't go see the team for a few years, actually. So it was a digital organization. It's ups and downs and it's chaos, and we're working in some of the least developed countries in the world, which makes it even more difficult. But it's prioritizing. It's really what makes a difference, and then focus on that. Make sure that we can deliver to clients, because ultimately clients pay the bills. So if your product is good enough, then hold back on developing further. Go chase some revenue. Make sure you have happy clients. Happy clients make the difference, and then build a system that supports that.
One last comment.
It was just reminding me of my own story when I opted out of my own startup. We had a product, and about product market fit, we were discussing these things. So we were nearly to finalize our round. At that point of time, I had some partners that really just wanted to do the fake it to make it strategy, and I just, as a CEO and founder, I was like, it was like stealing candy from kids, getting the investors' money and saying, "Yeah, we are going to grow," but I knew that the market is not growing. Retail investments for sustainability has been slow since the war in Ukraine, right? So I could foresee that this is not going to grow. So what did I wanted to do? I was really in a big dilemma. Like, should I take the money and then not grow, but my investors want me to grow? Then I would for sure use the money wrongly, because I wanted to focus on compliance and all other stuff that was important. And we were in a disalignment in the partner group. So I went out to my investor, took a long walk, told her and them about the whole, my thoughts, was honest. And they were like, "But we want to support you." Yes, but if you want to support me on that road, like being stable and not grow, then fine. But I couldn't agree with my partners, and that actually ended up in that I actually opted out.
Okay.
And I remember, and when we're discussing these things, it's really about like, where are you as the CEO and founder of a company? What do you want to do? Because investors, you turn into investor, right? After being an entrepreneur. So it's a big world out there, but it's still, we are going to do business ups and downs throughout the whole career and the whole life.
Yeah, so you're back to the transparency, actually, that Henriette
that's how
talks.
I felt, right? Yeah. But it's, of course, back to what we want.
One last comment before we go to the next dilemma.
So I just want to kind of underline that if you find the right investors, and you should spend time finding the right investors, you are a team, right? You're not on opposite sides of the table. You are a team trying to build something together, and everyone is contributing with something.
Yes.
And I think what investors value the most, and I also think what makes really good entrepreneurs, is that you have integrity in many ways. So what you value is, if you say you're going to do something, you go do it. That's something I value in people, and also as an investor. And then it's fine, you come and say, "Listen, I got this information, so I actually thought about doing this instead because of XYZ. Perfect, go do that instead." But doing what you said you're going to do, that's just a fundamental, I think, a building block in being advancing, as you say, Sebastian, actually moving yourself somewhere and doing it as a team. So I think you should never see the investor as someone, now I got this money and I need to spend it on something. I think the people that tried that strategy also, after it was a little bit of a crazy market, they really burned their fingers.
True. We really need to go to the next dilemma, so we will get your advice later. But thank you so much. I think, Cecilia, summarizing from the panel, It's about, aligning your goals with your investors and also be transparent. As Henriette says, trust is one of the most important things as a founder, and you are a team with your investors, if it's good investors and if it's the right investors. So hopefully they will also be able to understand what you should use your money for. And then Sebastian says it's really an exercise. This is about, prioritizing, finding out what is most important. And happy customers is definitely the place you should start. So customer service, definitely look at that. But be mindful that your people will not get overwhelmed, as Henriette says. Thank you so much for your dilemma. Let's go to the next one. Well, now we're getting started. Are you ready for the next dilemma?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it comes here. Hi, Karriereklubben. I'm 27 years old and I have started a marketing agency that helps small businesses build their online presence. We have grown quickly over the past 3 years, and right now demand is higher than what we can handle. We've had to say no to some clients. Oh no, that was what you said, Sebastian. Happy customers is the most important thing, right? And my team is starting to burn out from the many tasks we have already had. We are facing significant scaling now, and I know we need to hire more people. But the recruitment process takes time, and I don't want to risk losing momentum. I feel caught between pushing my team to their limits, risking burnout, or slowing down and potentially missing business opportunities. How do you make sure your team stay motivated and doesn't get overwhelmed while scaling? Is there a way to push boundaries without exhausting people? I want to take responsibility for my team's well-being, of course, but I also feel like we're at a critical growth moment we can't afford to pass up. From Thomas. Actually, a bit in line with what you said for the first dilemma, Henriette. So maybe we should start with you, with the people. Recruitment processes in a scale-up takes time. What should Thomas do?
Oh my God, recruitment, such a topic. I would say, so from my own entrepreneurial experience, we never got to a period where we needed to scale up with that many employees. So I can't really speak to that. But what I can say is that in your early phases, of course, recruitment is crucial. Like your first 20 employees, it's just really important you pick the right people. And I think personally, if you feel like you do have the right team of the first kind of team you build up around your company, I would probably do whatever it would take to incentivize them to put in the extra effort. So if that's warrants or somehow making them feel like they are part of this journey, you're doing it together and you will all get the rewards. I think that can align some interest. And actually, I also often say to startups, that will also give you a good picture of who actually have that kind of entrepreneurial spirit and are suited for that. Because sometimes you can even offer people two things and say, listen, I can give you a little bit of a salary raise, or I can do this kind of warrant, upside. And just from that choice, you can actually learn a little bit about people and their incentives and who have the kind of personalities where you might be able to push a little bit more because they're incentivized in that way.
Okay.
And then I would probably be mindful of the different, why are people there? So once you have that in place, I think you have a better picture of your current team as it is. So that would be my advice on that kind of part. How do you handle your overwhelmed team?
So talk up the journey, talk up why they're important and matter for the team.
I think you're just in situations where it's tough. I've been in the opposite situation, right? Where several times where we we're almost out of money and had to close the company, but you have to tell people in advance because they have their notice and everything, but you also really want to keep them engaged because you are almost there, securing the next step. And it's a kind of a similar process, right? How do you keep their motivation up knowing that maybe they don't have a job in 3 months? So I just learned that in that phase, there are two different types of people, and some will really go in and pull the extra effort if they feel like they are part of the journey, like we're doing this together. So I've always been in favor of, if you have really good people you feel like are key to your company journey, find a way to incentivize them, make sure they have a good warrant program and feel like you're building it together. I think, that would be my advice.
What would you say, Varan? You know, you are in a situation where, I mean, things are going well, you're scaling, but you can see that your employees are starting to burn out and you need to hire more people, but that's difficult.
Leadership is, of course, one of the key, things that is needed when whether it's the co-founding team taking the responsibility of making sure that people are, to promote a work-life, balance culture. And speaking about culture and a manifesto, I remember when we did Make Impact first time, we were like writing a manifesto of what is this company about.
Okay.
So, and we incorporated our company cultures in it. We didn't write like, okay, you need to work from X to Z and so on, but getting people on board on that mission or vision, and then be able to be trustful and honesty about like, okay, the money is running out, or we haven't closed the round here because our investors or whatever. Being open and honest to the team, you feel, okay, who is actually here for the journey and supporting on that ride. And then, of course, you need to figure out, okay, if this person is one particular person or another one is on the route of burning out and want to get to work and get shit done. But we need to make sure that this person is whole when, like, as I always say, happy wife, happy life.
Happy employees, happy company.
Yes, also, mentality-wise, right? We are in a period where we have focused on self-awareness, and we need to be, happy inner with everyone should be there before we can, get to the next level. And I remember bigger scale-up companies, they were like getting yoga and mindfulness and all those things, but it's not everyone who is fitted and ready for these things. I didn't do all these things while I was an entrepreneur. After getting out, I managed to get on the other side. And I'm so, I hope that somebody helped me to get started, with the self-awareness earlier in my career. And once you get there as a founder, you will be able to also see things from a different world. So
is that what Thomas should do? Like promote the mental...
That could be one
health.
way, but also being honest and open about like where this is headed. So all the frustrations that he's sharing with us, he should definitely share it with the team. And then of course there will be people in the team which would not maybe be aligning on these goals, and that's where you figure out like who is going to be on the next ride, on the next journey to the scale up, because some people are fitted for the startup side but not for the scale ups. Yeah. And you need to figure out with who you need to recruit in that journey. I've been in a startup scale up now that for sure hired the wrong people to that scale up process, and they are struggling right now because they have people along that cannot take that lead, and they don't know what to do with it.
Okay.
And that's a big issue because it's burning. You're burned down, but it's also like you won't be that effective. So.
Yeah, you look like you have a lot of thoughts, Sebastian.
I'm a bit... I want to question it because I feel like it's obviously about leadership.
Yeah.
And in leadership, you need to be honest.
Yeah.
And you need to show direction and explain the reasoning behind the direction. And there was one thing that caught my ear was, this is a special moment in our growth journey. So why is that special? I mean, from it sounds like it's there's nothing changing in the marketplace, and I understand that we all are pursuing growth. However, if we push the team beyond, then we'll fail. So what's the reasoning behind this special opportunity for pushing harder? Because if there's a good reason, then that's the communication that we need to ensure the team understands. When that's said, I still believe that it's okay to, break the speed a bit in order to recruit, because work-life balance, wives and family and whatever. Coming back to happy customers.
Yeah.
If we push too hard, team will fall apart. We'll end up with no customers, and then it's not a growth scenario. So it's really, are we pushing too hard just for the sake of growth? And is the opportunity really that unique, or could it wait another 6 months? I think that's probably something that, as a CEO, he would have to look in the mirror and convince first himself and then the team that now there's a good reason for push harder, because we haven't heard it, and I think that's probably something that he should consider.
I think that's a super good point, and also, talking into the theme of today's podcast, scaling but slow and steady, right? So it's maybe it's not the right time to grow in like that pace.
It could be super risky.
Yeah, and then maybe his employees will actually fail in that journey. You don't know.
Or leave them.
Yeah, Henriette.
Yeah, and I think that's really a point, coming back now and taking the investor's perspective a little bit, right? We don't know if there are any investors involved and what kind of investors there are. But you're back to if you kind of chose the VC route, you signed up for the hypergrowth path in many ways, so you will get pushed to pursue that. So I think that's also back to being mindful about when you're building a company and you're choosing your investors, what kind of journey suits you, and the, what kind of company do you want to build? Yeah. So you're making sure you're aligning interest from all the stakeholders you have, and that also goes for your employees. Like, we are this kind of company, this is what we are pursuing. And so I feel like, yes, slow growth, but you're going to have a problem if you signed up for a VC route where the premise for the investment was, now we're going to do hypergrowth.
Good point as well. Yeah, Sebastian, you have to reply on that one.
It sounds like they are growing, it sounds like they're growing quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think that then it's semantics about growing a lot or a lot.
Yes.
And it's really, at one point it will reach the flip side where it actually becomes a risk, and the VC will not appreciate risking the case for hyper growth if the company is not ready for it. So it's really a balancing act, and it starts with honesty in leadership.
Yeah. Well, I think, one last
the
comment.
last thing is also about, like, one thing is to doing hyper growth in terms of a profit perspective, because you can hire more people, get shit done, and then still show the monthly revenue, getting higher. But maybe the profit is not that high, but it depends on the investors. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. Are we going to have the same profit, line going upwards, or are we going to have less profit, more revenue, and then showcase the hyper growth? It's a really, really important, Excel exercise to look at, because then in a period you can actually, hire a lot of people on a short term, get shit done, and then get to the next round. So it's also about, like, the goals, the financial goals as well, as part of that hyper growth. And then you can look at the team and say, okay, we can't do it with this amount of people. I am going to hire 5 more people for 5 months. If it's okay with you guys, I can show you this is going to get to that.
But Varan, now you're getting ahead of me, because that's the last dilemma about stability or profitability. So we will get to that. Sorry. Well, Thomas, there's a lot of great advices for you. I think you had a really good point, Sebastian, with if you push the team, beyond what they can do, you will fail. So it's really about finding that balance. And Henriette also says, however, that hypergrowth is sometimes a part of the journey, and especially if you have a VC on board, that will be something they expect. So that's the balance you will need to find. It all comes down to leadership, and that's actually what all of you say, that's key. And maybe also be a bit more vulnerable and share this frustration with your team. Say you really want to do something for their mental health and well-being, and you see that they are stressed and there's a lot to do at this moment. So make them be a part of the journey, and show why they matter on the team. Thank you so much for your dilemma, Thomas. Let's go to the next one. So this is the last dilemma, and Varan, you were getting ahead of me by talking about profitability and whether you should do it stable or like more steadily. But let's go into it. Hi Karriereklubben. I'm 33 years old and I'm a co-founder of a tech company developing AI solutions for the financial sector. We just secured a major deal and now we're facing an important decision. Should we go all in and aim for this aggressive growth, or should we focus on securing more stable profit? Our investors are pushing us to scale quickly, but I can see that if we keep pouring resources into grow, we will burn through money fast and need to raise more funds within a year. I'm worried that if we move too quickly, we'll always be one step behind without solid control over our finances. At the same time, I'm also afraid that if we don't seize this opportunity now, our competitors will overtake us. So how do you make this decision? Should we be more cautious and focus on building a profitable business? Or should we take the risk, as investors says, and go all in on growth, even though we risk losing control over our finances in a very short time? What is the right decision? From Alexander.
Quantum is coming.
What?
Like winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Quantum is coming.
Quantum is coming.
So
yeah.
Now being so much into the fintech space and AI, maybe that's my advice here is that scale right now.
Because it's within AI.
Yeah, because, these different trends, goes up and down. And we know that quantum is coming. We know that right now the momentum for investments right now in AI and scaling, this is quite has been on a hyper growth and really trending. Now it's a little bit different. But from an advice and then also from an experience part into this, governance and how you make sure that regulation is coming. So one thing is scaling, but at the same time look at what type of regulation is coming in this area. If you can do business on regulations, you will be sure. Like you mentioned, the SBTI, certifications and all these different things, coffee. Like once you get all these regulatory, stamps, you will make sure that you will be the first one, taking to the next round. So of course, focusing on what's the regulatory part comes along, and then scale aggressively right now would be my, advice compared to the other thing we talked. But it's because it's quite niche area. It is in my space. So I'll leave it with that. But
interesting.
Yeah.
I think maybe we should go to you, Sebastian, because you have been the last on the other dilemmas. What would you say?
So it's not really my field, but I think that taking a step back, it's really what's the play in the investment, and they've already. The dice are played, and they've had investors joining who's looking for scale, and so the call's made long time ago. If they, I guess the investors will follow up on the investment. Otherwise, they wouldn't push that hard. So it's really, I don't see there is a choice.
He actually only has the choice of scaling.
That would be without knowing the tech side of it, without having the good arguments that the market mechanism will change. The ownership they've invited investors in on a journey, and that journey is not a small profitable operation. It's probably VCs. So they were looking at a huge return with huge growth expectations. If they are front running the market from a tech point of view, then it's really rush it and do the next round.
But what if they scale in more steadily and looked at profitability so they wouldn't run out of money already within a year?
But I don't think that's a tech play. Yeah. But I'm no expert, and I don't think that doing that in a situation where investors are, want you to pursue a different route is a good strategy. So I don't see any good argument for slowing down. It's a different play. They should have played it differently initially, and I'm not sure that it would work in tech and AI, and it all looks very fast paced and I'm not sure that's for profitability for now.
Let's see. What will you say to this, Henriette? Now you've also been you've actually been in the industry somehow with AI, right?
Yeah, different kind of AI though. So it was computer vision and imaging, and so it's a little bit of a different area. But I think it's kind of like a point I made before. Like, we don't know what kind of investors he got in, but that's really, as you say, where you roll the dice. And as a business angel, and also here representing, of course, a business angel network, I would say that's maybe, a place, if you feel like, what kind of business do you want to build? Do I want to build a business where, I want it steady, I want to build profit? The aim is really to have a sustainable business, both from a mental health and, work-life balance. Well, then maybe that's the right route in terms of investors, getting aligned with some who want to support that journey and have a more long-term perspective and doing it for different reasons. Yeah. So I think you're really back to early in when you have lots of different routes to go, to think about, what do I want to do? Like, what fits with me and what I want to do in my life, and how can I go out and match that with investors? So it's really down to Sebastian's point. What kind of premises and agreement did he make with the investors that he took in? And that's really the journey you're onto. And I think a good anecdote from my own journey where I chose a different path was, we were in a situation, we had this technology that we built. It was primarily software based. But we had to integrate into cameras and a whole surgical system. And so we're really at a point where we're like, we have two ways to go. Either we have to go out and partner with these gigantic companies, primarily in the US, who have these big systems and are building the surgical cameras that we really have to interface with, or we have to build it ourselves. So what do we do? And then I actually met with an old contact. I had a big, Sandhill, Silicon Valley fund investor. I was in Silicon Valley, and he said, it's an easy choice. If you want to go for the full package, you come to Silicon Valley and you fund your business here and you go up against them, right? That's going to give you the big reward. Otherwise, you go back to Denmark and you bootstrap and you go for a partnering strategy. Up to you. So, and it was very honest. And then I went back and talked to my co-founder, and we were like, I had been in Silicon Valley. I didn't want to do that. So I was like, let's go for the other path that fits with my life journey right now and what I want to do. And I think that's the most important point in this. So it's just to understand these kind of different paths. I think we would not have been successful if I said, then I guess we're going to Silicon Valley, and then I was moving there and I didn't really want to, and I actually missed my friends at home or whatever,
Yeah.
So I think that's my point. You have to stay true to who you are, stay true to what kind of business you want to build, and then hopefully you think about that before you choose your investors. And there are investors out there that are not VCs, and actually also some VCs. So VCs are also different, but you can choose investors who match with kind of the vision you have for your company and what you want to build. So make sure you do that.
But isn't there also like a bigger focus on profitability now? I mean, it seems like a lot of even VCs are also looking a lot about, when will this company be profitable? Much more than what they did in the past. So wouldn't that also be an argument that for like the VCs, it doesn't make sense that they scale or grow so quickly that they will run out of money, and maybe then it will take longer time than expected?
So Liz, I fundraised in 2016. And back then it was not as it was in 21. So I think it's not like, now we're looking at profit. We had a period where it's just doing good business. I mean, that's what you look at. You look at a business plan. You look at how is this going to become a good business. An investor, how am I going to get returns on this business? That's the core. So I think it's actually just because all of a sudden there was so much money in the market that it just got crazy. So I think that's more of an outlier. The years that you had where you were just, all in, just pour more money in. And I think if you have to pour more money in, you really have to ask your question, can I really create more value by pouring in more money? That's the key question. And so I don't feel like, now we are talking profit. I feel like people are just a little bit, it was just a crazy time. So it's all about the business. Does it make sense to scale and wait with the profit? Are there good arguments when you look at the benchmarks? And again, what do the founders want to do? It's really about looking how do you best create value in this business. So that would be my key question.
Yeah.
I also think that in terms of, Henriette, you mentioned like which type of strategy with the investor that you met at one point of time, whether it's partnering up or against the other ones. Because in this field, like, what is your exit strategy? Yeah. Is it to selling to the financial bigger corporations that just, okay, we'll acquire you because you scale and then we will put all the money in one bucket, or are you going to do stable profit? Because in the fintech space, we have seen companies being, majority held by their founders in a long term, and then at one point of time, they felt, now we made great stable profit, and we get to the next level. And we have others in the customer service marketing that just saw a specific time where they could just, exit. And they did that, right? Whether the product, I remember I used a product that was not even close to be finished or done, but they exited with $400 million in acquisition. We were like,
oh my God,
how could that happen?
Yeah.
But the partner on the other side needed that specific stuff. And that's what's going on with the tech space as well. So Henriette, you were quite, before the AI and visionary. Like, my wife is radiographer, and the X-rays and AI with X-rays and BSPP and wherever they do, you were, ahead of the curve. So the market was maybe not as going up in the AI space.
It was not there.
It was not there, right? So you were like, are we going to invest in this? So it's depending on the market as well. So you really need to also figure out, okay, is the market going to take off? Nobody knew that the war was coming when I was looking at sustainable investments, and people were putting all the money in sustainability and stuff like that. So look up, figure out where you are as well is also a part of, gut feeling is also things that you need to take into place.
Yeah, Henriette.
I would just say one more point, or 2 points actually. One key thing, I think, if you kind of do a strategy where you go out and sell without a profit, just make sure that you have a switching plan so you can actually turn that into a profit. I think that's key. So if okay, if we get in a situation where we have to cut some cost, or we can, now this is not software, but in other places, we can cut production costs, we can do something so we know that the product will make a profit, then it's fine to scale. Then you have control. So then you do it. It's a mindful decision. So that's one part. And then I think I would just say the other part being have been working on the acquirer side. I've done that, looking at things from their perspective. And this is not tech deals, but let's say more in the deep tech. I can assure you that no one is buying anything. They do it old school. Like, they sit and do their P&L, DCF analysis. How are they going to make a lot of money in this, right? So just be mindful about that. That's how they do it. So ultimately, everyone is interested in this business. How is this going to make money? How am I making money from this acquisition? How am I making money from this investment? So I think you just need to be aware of that. And then whatever you do, you have to line up your arguments that the choices you are taking are eventually going to make a profit for someone.
Well, I think it seems like you're all agreeing that Alexander should be scaling, right? Do you have a last final point to make, Sebastian?
I was just a reflection on the dilemma before. Yeah. I questioned whether or not there was a good reason for scaling. And here, I mean, tech and the moment in time might actually be exactly that reason for scaling. And then once you're committed, you just need to stick to it. You cannot question your strategy every other day, especially not when it comes to investors and the business case they bought into.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think everyone in the panel agrees, Alexander, that you should scale. First of all, Varan says that quantum is coming. I think that was really funny. And it's all about scaling in the AI space right now. And also in terms of the investors, now you have some investors on board. They will also expect for you to be scaling the company. And if you were to build a more profitable and build it more sustainable, maybe you shouldn't have taken investor money in that sense, or maybe found an investor that were more likely to support that journey. So the only question for you is actually that you're going to, or the only option for you is actually that you're going to scale. But thank you for your dilemma, and thank you to you for joining us here at TechBBQ on this Karriereklubben Live.
Thank you for having me.
Du lyttede til Karriereklubben, en podcast produceret af Andrea Thormand, Karoline Rossmeisl og Nima Tisdal. Du kan altid følge Karriereklubben inde på dine respektive sociale medier. Vi glæder os til at høre fra dig. Tak fordi du lyttede med.